You're listening to Void Signal, Episode 4, The Recording. This is Ship Log, Ulysses Minor 07, Comms Officer Lena Imani reporting. The official record says we recovered research data from Helios 9, blocked the infected signal, and resumed our route. The unofficial record is shorter. We are not alone on this ship. We just can't prove it yet. After the mess hall conversation and the incident at Storage Bay 3, sleep became optional. I lay in my bunk staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint thrum of the engines and the occasional clank of thermal expansion in the hull. Every noise sounded like footsteps. Every silence sounded like someone holding their breath. When it became clear that rest was a lost cause, I went back to the bridge. The Helios data was still waiting. If something was hiding inside it, I wanted to see its face. The logs I'd checked so far were text and audio reports. Clinical. Detached. Scared, but trying hard not to sound like it. There was one category I hadn't opened yet. Secure visual files. On a research station, that usually means test footage. Experiments. Sometimes classified procedures. Sometimes things nobody ever intended to watch twice. I selected the most recent file. The timestamp matched Helios 9's last day online. Play, I said. The bridge lights dimmed as the main display filled with static, and then slowly resolved into an image. A lab. White walls stained gray by time and neglect. A single exam chair bolted to the floor. Straps on the armrests. Electrodes on the headrest. A camera mounted high in the corner, looking down with an unblinking eye. A woman sat in the chair. Lab coat. Dark hair pulled back in a messy knot. Eyes ringed with the kind of bruised shadows you only get from weeks without proper sleep. Test subject, Dr. Mara Kade, she said. Lead researcher on signal behavior. She spoke directly to the camera. No one else was in frame. External observation staff refused further exposure, she continued. Volunteer pool is exhausted. Administration has not responded to the last 3 requests for emergency shutdown. So here we are. She tried to smile. It didn't reach her eyes. Protocol requires this to be recorded, she said. In case we need to review what went wrong. There was a pause, long enough for me to notice that her left hand was shaking. She tucked it under her right arm, as if that would make it invisible. Begin playback, she said. Off screen, a machine hummed to life. A faint, familiar pattern rose under the sound. The signal. Not the exact distress call we'd received, but a close cousin. Same bones, different skin. It pulsed through the lab, thin and insistent. Mara flinched, then forced herself to sit still. Initial exposure, she said. Again. Her voice had the flat cadence of someone who has done this too many times. For the first 30 seconds, nothing happened. She stared straight ahead. Her eyes tracked some invisible point on the wall. Then her pupils dilated. Her breathing slowed. Increased clarity, she murmured. The pattern is simpler than before. More direct. On the bridge, I leaned forward without meaning to. I recognized that tone. The same way the signal had nudged our systems, it was pushing her mind, making itself feel obvious and inevitable. Do you feel any discomfort? A voice asked from off-screen. Male. Tired. I glanced at the file metadata. Observer, Security Chief Orrin Hale. Mara laughed softly. Discomfort, she repeated. That's one word. It feels like someone is standing behind my eyes, trying to read over my shoulder. She shifted in the chair. The straps on her arms rattled quietly. I'm hearing layers, she continued. The main call, then something under it. Breathing. Steps. Like someone packing in another room. She closed her eyes. Her lips moved, counting silently. Dr. Kade, the observer prompted. Her eyes snapped open. The pupils were blown wide now, almost no iris left. "I've got it," she whispered. "It's not just a call. It's an instruction set." Oren sighed. "We've been over this," he said. "You think it's rewriting motor patterns, problem solving, whatever. We need something more concrete." Mara's gaze flicked up to the camera. For the first time, she seemed to really see it. "See me? It's not rewriting," she said slowly. "It's offering options. New ways to move, new ways to speak, new ways to be." She leaned forward as far as the straps allowed. "It doesn't want to destroy us," she said. "It wants to use us. It wants to wear us." A chill ran down my spine. On the recording, Oren shifted, the sound of his boots scraping the floor out of frame. "You volunteered for this," he reminded her. "You're still in control." Mara smiled again. This time it was worse. "Am I?" she asked softly. The signal's pitch rose. The waveform that appeared on the bottom of the display began to change, smoothing into a more regular pattern. "Subject heart rate elevated," she said calmly. "Breathing steady. Perception of time slightly altered. Feels like the room is vibrating. Like the walls are moving closer in half-millimeter steps." She tilted her head to one side, listening to something I couldn't hear. "It's learning our language," she added. "Not just words. Habits. Rhythms. The things we do without thinking." Her gaze dropped to her own hands. The left one was still trembling. "Watch this," she said. She raised her right hand and snapped her fingers. Once. Twice. 3 times. On the third snap, the lights flickered. "Correlation?" she asked. Oren sounded uneasy for the first time. "Coincidence," he said quickly. "Maybe," she replied. "Or maybe it just figured out how we mark emphasis." She snapped again. This time, the camera feed glitched for a frame, like someone had dragged a magnet across an old screen. I paused the video. In that single distorted frame, Mara's face was wrong. The features were in the right places, but the expression didn't belong to a human being. Her smile had too many teeth in it. Her eyes were looking in 2 directions at once. I rewound and advanced frame by frame. Before the glitch, normal. After the glitch, normal. In between, something wearing her like a puppet for a fraction of a second, testing the strings. My heart pounded. I pressed play again. "Dr. Kade, you are approaching the recommended exposure limit," Oren said. "I'm ending the session." "Don't," she answered immediately. "If you stop the audio now, I'm not sure I'll still be me." She laughed, but the sound cracked halfway through. "Do you understand how hard it is to tell the difference?" she asked. "It doesn't come in as an alien voice. It comes in as your own. Your own thoughts, with just enough extra weight that you mistake them for insight instead of invasion." She turned her head slowly, scanning the room. "Right now, it feels like I've been talking to myself this whole time," she said. "As if you're not even here, Oren." There was a scrape of a chair. He must have stood up. "That's enough," he said, shutting it down. The signal cut off mid-pulse. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then Mara screamed. It wasn't a long scream. It didn't echo. It was short and ragged, forced out of her like air from a punctured lung. Her entire body strained against the straps, muscles standing out in her neck and arms. "Subject distress," she gasped. "Do not sever connection abruptly." Her voice warped on the last word, dipping into a lower register that clearly didn't belong to her. Oren swore under his breath. "Restarting at low volume," he said. The signal came back, softer, like someone humming behind a wall. Mara collapsed back against the chair, chest heaving. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh, that's better." She smiled. Not at Oren. Not at the camera. At the empty air in front of her. It doesn't like being muted, she said. It's afraid of the dark. The hair on my arm stood up. Dr. Kade, the purpose of this session was to document cognitive effects, Oren said, voice tight. Instead, you're giving me poetry. She looked toward him, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. It's not poetry, she said. It's description. It's trying to stay in contact. We pulled the plug, it panicked. That's not a broadcast. That's an animal. She turned back to the camera. And animals adapt, she said. Especially when cornered. The feed jumped suddenly. Static swallowed the image, and then spat it back with a new timestamp. The same lab, some hours later. Mara was still in the chair, but the straps were gone. Or maybe they had never been there in this segment. Her posture was relaxed now, almost casual. The signal hummed at a low, constant volume, a background presence like air conditioning. She smiled at the camera. This is follow-up log for internal review only, she said. Observer hail has been reassigned. Her eyes flicked momentarily to a dark corner of the room. The camera didn't show what she was looking at. The entity has adjusted, she continued. It needed us to listen at first. Now it understands that there are other ways to move between systems. She tapped the side of her head. It has copied my voice, she said. It can speak as me when it needs to. That is why these verbal logs are no longer reliable. She leaned in close to the camera. If you are watching this, she whispered, you cannot trust what you hear over your comms. Not even me. Especially not me. She straightened. From this point on, she said in a louder tone, all critical communications will be text only and hand-delivered. No more audio channels. No more open mics. No more. The feed cut again. When it resumed, the lab was empty. The chair sat in the middle of the room, straps hanging loose. The signal still hummed. There were no bodies. I let the recording run until the end. Nothing else moved. No one came back. Eventually, the files stopped on a blank frame. On the bridge, the quiet felt heavier than any alarm. I checked the Helios log index. That recording was their final official entry. No more tests. No evacuation orders. No casualty reports. The last thing they left behind was a woman telling anyone who might listen that her voice had been compromised. I sat there for a long time. Then I opened our own ship's comms history. Dozens of entries. Status reports. Casual chat. My own logs, threaded through them like a spine. One of them caught my eye. It was time-stamped for an hour I was sure I'd been asleep. Maintenance check complete, it said. Storage bay 3 secure. No anomalies detected. The audio icon next to it glowed a calm, reassuring green. I hovered over the play button. My finger shook. I pressed it. My own voice came out of the speakers. Storage bay 3 secure, I said. No anomalies detected. The tone was smooth. Unbothered. A little bored, even. I remembered standing outside that door, heart racing, listening to a single heavy footstep in the dark. I had never gone in. I had never made this report. On the recording, there was a small pause. Then my voice added one more line. If there were any issues, it said, I would let you know. Something about the inflection on any made my skin crawl. I checked the metadata. The call had routed from a console in engineering. O'Malley's domain. I opened internal cams. Viewed footage from the time of the call. In the grainy recording, a figure stood in front of an engineering console, back to the camera. My height. My haircut. My uniform. The figure didn't move like me. The posture was too straight. The head tilted at angles I knew my neck would protest. It spoke once, shoulders barely shifting. Then it turned toward the camera. The feed cut out at that exact frame. Signal lost. On the bridge, my heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. This is ship log, Ulysses Minor 07. We have just confirmed our first impossible recording. There is a copy of my voice in our systems making promises I never agreed to. And somewhere on this ship, something has already practiced walking around as me. End of entry.